Hello everyone, it's me again. I just thought I'd do another video on why I cover. This is more of a biological, like, theory type video versus biblically based. I mean, of course it's biblically based, otherwise I'd have no reason to cover my hair. Um, but this is going kind of deep into technicalities, I guess you could say. But anyway, it was over Christmas break that I was lying in my bed and I was thinking, why do I cover my hair all the time? I may seem confident up here, but sometimes I do have doubts. I do get a little shaky on things. I never stop covering my hair, but I'm sort of like, well, is this really what's necessary? I mean, I know covering at mass, but every day, is that really necessary? I mean, I do it largely, but not completely, for convenience. I don't want to pray or prophecy without covering. I don't usually prophecy, but I do pray a lot. Um, and I really don't want a situation where I'm constantly pulling out my mantilla or chapel cap, putting it on my head, and then taking it off when I'm done. I pray a lot during the day, and that would happen at random points in the class and other things. I don't even like to think about religious ideas without having my head covered. Different church teachings, like on contraception or abortion. I don't even like to think about those, because it involves thinking about God, thinking about Christ, and I really don't like to touch those type of subjects without having my head covered. Call me crazy. But so yeah, convenience was, my first answer. But what about those little wormies? I didn't always feel the wormies. I It's easier for me to avoid that wormy feeling inside that I get when I don't pray with my hair covered when I cover it all the time. But why are the wormies there? Um a reason why I feel the wormies, why I feel this bizarro feeling when I pray uncovered, could be the Eucharist. I mean, it's definitely the Eucharist, but more than just at church. See, when I leave Mass, I don't leave Christ behind. I take him with me, and I don't mean in an emotional, mental, and spiritual sense. I just physically ate the physical body and blood and divinity of Christ, and he is physically in me. I don't mean sitting like in my esophagus or in my stomach until, it's processed through. I mean, with a simple study of high school slash college biology 101, all food goes through the digestive process so it can be broken down, and so that the nutrients, elements, and essentially essence, which is the energy that the food provides, can be absorbed into your cells to fuel them. That's why we live. If it weren't, I mean, otherwise there'd be no point in eating. That hot dog you ate yesterday, it's in your cells right now. Yes, not the hot dog itself, but the nutrients. Okay, so going from that point, the essence of the food goes into the cells, powers them, and makes the body work. That is what happens to the Eucharist. This is just a theory. It's not Vatican approved. I mean, it might be wrong, but hey, it was just my train of thought when I, came up with this. All right. So essentially, the Eucharist becomes enmeshed in each and every one of my cells, in each and every one of the organelles of my cells. The nucleus, the mitochondria, the chloroplast. Catch my mistake if you could get it. Of myself. God is completely enmeshed in me, and honestly, I am so far from worthy. It's a wonder it doesn't kill me dead. However, God did give us Christ so that we could interact with Him fully in the physical versus dropping dead. Um, Everywhere you go, Christ is in you. His physical presence is meshed with yours. I'm not saying that I'm now a god or anything, or I'm like Christ. I'm just saying that physically, because I ate the body and blood of Christ, the essence, Christ, is now in my cells, physically in my cells, taken in from the bread and wine. Now, what does this mean? I don't really know. It's weird. I mean, call me crazy. It's just a theory. I like to come up with theories and stuff like that. I love science fiction. It could mean that that's where the wormies come from. But I have been feeling compelled to cover since before I was confirmed. So I had never taken the Eucharist. However, I did not have the same wormy compulsion. It was a desire, a following to a calling, but there weren't any wormies. Where are the wormies? I don't know. Now I have wormies that goes beyond the knowledge of what I should do and shouldn't do. A normal conscience thing where it's sort of like little good angel, little bad angel, like what I mean is that I have this feeling that tells me to do it. And I don't like going off a feeling in terms of, spiritual, because you can't, I feel, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust my feelings all the time. Because sometimes I feel like lying. Sometimes I feel like screaming at someone. Sometimes I feel like saying things that I should not say. And it feels right at the time, but that doesn't make it right. And I'm not saying that for you guys, I'm just saying it for me. I like to have the facts from the Bible for tradition. And then if a feeling comes along, then that's great. But I don't like to go off of a feeling and then go from there, because otherwise, I'd be lying all over the place. So, yes. Anyway, because I'm reading off of a script right now, I wrote this down so let me find where I was. But I realized that because I have this total enmeshment, I guess that's a word, that's an even greater reason to cover. More often than not, it is God in me. So whenever I enter the presence of God through prayer, entering the presence of God to talk, or prophecy, entering the presence of God to give words to others, taking words from the presence of God, I sort of see prayer as sort of like this portal. Like, it's weird, I know, it's crazy, but it's kind of like you're opening up the gate so you can talk to God, so therefore you're kind of coming into the presence of God. And essentially, anytime I enter the presence of God, I have to be covered. Now, with the Eucharist, an essence of Christ totally imbuing myself, this is just a theory, when exactly am I ever not in the presence of God/Christ? It's kind of all the time. All the time. All the time. All the time. Now, should I really go off showing off my glory when the glory of God is physically within me? It seems kind of dangerous, actually, especially when coming to the presence of God through prayer. Christ is within me, and Christ is God's glory. Can I really show up in God's presence and try to contend with Christ's glory that essentially emanates from myself? I'm not going to fight with that. I'll be shamed. After all, if you think about it, man is the glory of God. Now, for you ladies out there that struggle with this is just a theory, but I'm getting it from the Bible. Man is the glory of God. Jesus was a man, not a woman. Man was created in the image of God. Woman, no. God is at the head of Christ. Christ at the head of man. Man at the head of woman. Let me sink in for those of you who are new to this. I know it's kind of a shaky type idea. When I first came across it, I'm like, I don't know about that. But, okay. Sink in? Good. Now in terms of the Eucharist, it isn't man who is within me, it is Christ. So the corporeal mortal rank of man is not within me and my cells, but Christ, who is divine and 2 ranks above me, and also happens to be God, is directly within me, inside. Man doesn't cover his hair because the Eucharist is Christ man inside of man. Now, this is just a theory. Both men and closer together in terms of rank. Perhaps the glories don't conflict, because the glory of Christ is similar, but way better still, to the glory of man. God created Christ/himself as a man, not a woman, a man who was the first human, the actual image of God. However, with woman, you put Christ/man, or Christ-man, within woman. Woman came from man, and woman came for man. Woman is man's glory, and thus subsequently Christ's glory, and thus there could theoretically be a conflict of glories in which the woman won't win, and for some it may even appear as a disrespectful to try to fight. All right, let me read that again. It could be a conflict of glories in which the woman won't win, and for some it may even appear as disrespectful to try to fight. I'm not gonna fight. No, no. Choose your battles wisely. I'm not new. And maybe that's where the angels come in. The glory of Christ is within me. Now, my hair is my glory. Now, wouldn't that be annoying if you're an angel? It's like chilling on the beach, basking in the sun. The angels are sort of like chilling, basking in the glory of God and Christ. But then someone keeps flashing their laser pin in your eye. Can you imagine how annoying that would be? I mean, over and over and over again, or like a flashlight when you're trying to sleep and somebody keeps like doing that type thing. I'm sure parents have had that happen to them from their kids. I don't know. Maybe that's what it's like. The brilliance of the sun and the annoyance of the pin laser trying to fight for dominance. Needless to say, the sun, SUN/SON, will win every time, and the pin laser will be made a laughing stock at trying to go beyond his pay grade. Hard to understand, most likely, but is this a theory I came up with? If Christ is thoroughly in me from the Eucharist, then I really see no reason why I should not cover all the time. I'm not saying this for anybody else, I'm saying this for me. God's glory, Christ, is in me, and therefore I rather just sort of take a step back, cover my glory, and let Christ beam through my cells. I mean, we can't see it, I can't see it, but maybe God can. Maybe. I mean, it's not like God is, all powerful or anything like that. Really. God can do anything he wants. God can see anything he wants. So he can probably see a bunch of people who took the Eucharist walking around glowing like flashlights everywhere. And with my hair, it would I guess it would block it or something. I don't know. It's just a theory. It's a theory. Take it or leave it. You don't have to like it. No bad comments, okay? It's just a theory from, a 21-year-old girl. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a theologian. Really. I've only been Catholic since 2009. Take it for a grain of salt if you want to, but if you like it, then okay, great. But also, isn't it interesting, how 1 Corinthians 11 also talks about how nature makes it so, or shows you that it's good for a woman to be covered, whereas a man, it's best not for him to have long hair. I mean, some guys, it's sort of like, your hair is so beautiful, but some guys, it's sort of like, you look at them from behind, you're like, you think they're a girl. I've seen that happen. It happens. Especially with some of these guys, they play sports, so therefore they wear a hairband in their hair to keep it out of their face. Oh boy, you see them from behind, like, oh, little miss. Oh, sorry, mister. But isn't it interesting that in old age, I guess you could say, as a man becomes closer and closer to God, like physically, because you're aging and getting closer to death, um, a man loses his hair. Not all men, and I'm not saying that the ones who don't are bad, but lots of guys lose their hair as they age. And it's not really weird to me, there's a hair club for men, but it's just sort of accepted. Um, it's it's almost like biologically it shows that men do not have to be covered as they get closer to God physically. They more of their glory, or because they are the glory of God, they show less hair. They don't have that covered up, their head covered up. But that's just a theory too.